Hi, we're Graham and Christine Whitehouse. Welcome to our virtual spring forage. We're going to take you out for a walk around the area that we live in here in Stirlingshire, Scotland. Before we start though, here's a few basic rules. When you forage regularly, you tend to follow the seasons and you're much more focused on those seasons. For example, during the winter, many of the plants are actually dormant and putting all their energy into strengthening their root systems so that they can push up strongly in spring when the weather improves. As a result, as we come out of our winter hibernation as well, we tend to see some lovely fresh greens appearing, and as the weather warms up, these come out in a massive flush of wonderful spring vegetables. As we move through spring and into early summer, we get more flowers, some seeds, but the range of fresh greens is reduced as they tend to get a bit harder and a bit tougher to eat as the year goes on. By the autumn, we're looking more at seeds and nuts and fruit and normally mushrooms as well, so it's a whole new exciting season by then, and throughout the season you'll be able to pick up different types of seaweeds at the seashore if you're lucky enough to get to the sea as well. Today we're focusing very much on spring, and we hope you enjoy our little virtual tour today.
Hi, we've come out today to see what we can find on the 1st of March. It's a time when the new plants are starting to grow, so we're going to see what we can find on the floor of the forest here. So one of the first plants we can see down here is ground elder. And ground elder is one of my favourite plants to harvest in the springtime. You can see, if you have a look at it, it's part of the carrot family, and it grows in bunches of 3, so it's got 3, 3 and 3, and the leaves are serrated and pointed at the end there. The taste has been described as variously lemony, parsley, carroty. I would use it as a parsley substitute. You can add it to soups, you can make sauces with it. It goes particularly well with fish as well. Always best to eat when it's nice and young in the springtime. Once it gets older, it becomes drier and less palatable. Another plant we found while we were out today is this one down here, and it's called cleavers. It has various different names throughout the country. It's also called sticky willy, for obvious reasons, in that it sticks. It has the wee pods that will stick to you when you're going for a walk. But just now, it's very young and it makes an excellent diuretic. You can just soak it overnight in some water with some lemon and drink it in the morning. It's a very, very refreshing drink. You can add it to soups. It's a particularly nice cleavers and red pepper soup, and just a great wee vegetable. And another plant that's coming through now is one of my favourites, which is your basic stinging nettle. Stinging nettles are a fantastic plant. They are full of vitamins and minerals, including vitamin A and vitamin K. It's also got a good source of protein. The stinging nettle can be used in a variety of ways. And basically, anywhere you would use spinach, you can use the stinging nettle. I'm not going to touch it for obvious reasons. People do say grass the nettle, but I'm a big fearty, I'm afraid. But when it's growing a wee bit higher, you can cut the tips off and you can make soup with them. As I say, anything you can do with spinach, you can do with nettles. The seeds, which you'll find in the summer to autumn time, are very tasty if you toast them, and you can add them to your oatcakes or your bread. The seeds contain something which will give you a natural high, so no more than 1 to 2 teaspoons is recommended any more than that and you may find it difficult to get to sleep at night.
So on the edge of woodland, in sort of shaded, damp areas, you'll quite often find this little plant called herb Robert or Geranium robertinum. So if you just come and have a look down here, you see this one here. It's got sort of like a sort of slightly reddish stalk, and the sort of quite sort of frilly florets. It's got a lovely smell to it. I won't pick this one just yet because it's quite young, I'll give it time, but you'll see it's got sort of like a central rosette. One of the earlier flowers you'll see that'll be pink when they come through, but very pretty. Used more in medicine than to eat, but they are quite a nice little flavoured leaf if you want to eat the leaves. Okay, so as well as herb Robert, there's also another plant down here that isn't that dissimilar at times, and I think it's worth just pointing it out. So what we have down here is buttercup. Now it's a little bit more parsley-like in its leaf, but it's not that dissimilar to this if you've not got them side by side to see. So I would just be careful when you're picking what you think is herb Robert, because it might be buttercup and you can't eat buttercups. So here's another carrot family member. Again, just a reminder, there are some really dangerous carrots in the carrot family, things like hemlock and hemlock water dropwort. The plant I'm about to show you looks quite similar to hemlock, so be absolutely certain of your own identification before you put what you think is this in your mouth. So the one I'm looking at here is a very young chervil plant, and I'll bring you down to look at it. You see here we've got a nice little rosette. We've got some quite clear stems here, and I'm going to pick this one to make life easier. See, there's the back. And the top. So here we have one of the identification features, is the groove that you have here. It's like a little stick of rhubarb or celery. It's got a sort of a purpley colour to this one, which is probably because it's right beside a path, so it's not getting enough nutrients. So just sort of showing you some identification features. This is very, very young, so it's almost impossible to see, but there is a very, very faint fuzz of hair on this stem, as well as the celery shape, and that allows me to know that this isn't hemlock, because hemlock has a round stem and has no hair on it, and you'll find with hemlock it's normally got little purple blotches all up it, which this one doesn't. So that's sort of some of the differences. As I've mentioned already, this has sort of like a bit of a parsley sort of smell, and hemlock has just got I can only describe as a rotten, nasty smell. I can't describe it any better than that. So there we go, that's chervil, nice little herb for your pot. Watch out for dangerous carrots. We need to be very careful with which plants we pick, because there are some deadly poisonous ones as well as the really tasty ones. In this picture there are two that are lovely to eat and two that will be quite deadly to humans. So the top left and the bottom right are the edible ones. That's your sweet cicely and your chervil. And the top right and the bottom left are hemlock water dropwort and hemlock. Both are poisonous. As you can see from the leaves though, they're not that dissimilar in how they look, so it's really important to really know your carrots.
We've come out to the woodland today and we've found one of our favourite woodland plants, and that is wild garlic. Wild garlic, if you find it, it will usually be prolific. In this particular area, it just carpets the whole ground. It's a good one because it's quite an easy one to identify. If you have a look at it, it grows in clumps, but the leaves are long, they're very smooth, there's no hairs on them and no serrated edges on either. One of the key identifying features is the smell, and you only have to break it open and you can smell that wild garlic smell. It's quite easy to see at the moment what is wild garlic, but once wild garlic comes up bigger, you will often find there are some poisonous plants that will grow in among it, and particularly dog mercury, which is not a plant that you want to be eating along with your wild garlic. So when you are harvesting it, always check as you pick each leaf that you have got wild garlic. Wild garlic has got a multitude of uses. We like to make wild garlic soup with it, we like to make wild garlic pesto, wild garlic scones, wild garlic anything. We're actually going to pick some tonight and add to our stir fry. It has a multitude of uses, and a Google search of wild garlic recipes will provide you with plenty of ideas. All parts of this plant are edible, from the bulbs to the leaves to the flowers and the seed pods. One thing to remember is that you can't dig up any plant without landowner's permission. There's many various ways of preserving the plant because it only grows in the springtime, and to try and prolong that to have some with the winter, there are several things you can do. You can make the pesto, which will obviously keep it, and you can also ferment it. You can also pickle it, and we like to pickle the buds before it flowers. You get the buds, and the pickled buds are particularly tasty as well.
So here we are, we've got another carrot for you. This one's got a beautiful flavour. It's not the first one up in the spring. You normally find your ground elder and your chervil before that. But this one is probably one of my early spring favourites. So let me bring you down here, let me show you. So this here is a very young sweet Sicily. It's got a lovely aniseed flavour and smell, and it works really well with things like rhubarb as a sort of sweetener, natural sweetener. The way to really tell that you've got sweet Sicily with this one, you see again the leaf fronds are very similar to some of the other carrots we've already shown you, but you've got these little white splodges on them that almost look like a bird has pooped. But they're actually the natural markings on it which allow you to tell what it is. So I'll just show you a few identification features to help you. So just have a look here. You'll see the stem is actually fairly round rather than sort of rhubarb shape, and it's slightly hollow in the centre. To distinguish it from hemlock, you're actually looking again for these little white sort of bird poo splotches that are on it, and particularly you're looking at the smell. The smell of it is absolutely gorgeous, sort of aniseedy sort of flavour. We use this in the spring for a variety of things. We particularly like the flavour when we make a champagne type drink. It's very similar to elderflower champagne, for those of you that are aware of that, but instead of the elderflowers we use the flowers from the sweet Sicily, and they give you a very nice aniseedy drink, not too overpowering, but just a nice gentle aniseed fizzy drink. Absolutely beautiful in the spring. We also love, just as a little treat as we're travelling, the seeds. The seed pods on these are fantastic, and when you bite into them, if you catch them just right, they're just a very sort of gooey, lovely aniseedy treat. It's almost like a nice licorice allsort. Absolutely lovely.
No spring forage would be complete without picking some wild leek. The wild leek, you often find it near water, and it tends to carpet the ground a bit like the wild garlic. People often confuse it with wild garlic, but if you have a look at the leaves, you'll notice, or you should notice, that the leaves are much narrower than the wild garlic. The wild garlic has a much wider leaf. The leaf on this one, the stem going up the back is quite pronounced and flat on the front of it. It does look like a lot of other plants which may not be edible, One sure way though to find out if it is wild leek that you've got is simply to open it up and have a smell, and you'll smell a sort of a spring onion smell from it. Wild leek can be eaten raw or cooked. You can use it in salads. I've just made a soup today actually with it, and it's a really tasty soup. Anywhere that you would use spring onions, leeks, you can use the wild leek. Once it's floured, it will develop sort of like seed-like pods, which are known as bulbils, and they are they've got a really creamy texture. So last year we actually brined some, and we can now add them to our food as well.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our short virtual forage today. We hope that you are encouraged to go out and do your own foraging, and good luck with that. There are hundreds of other plants that we've not shown you today, plus seaweeds, plus mushrooms. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram, where we're known as White House Foraging.
We're going to leave you now with a few recipe ideas that we've made with some of the things that we have found.